Susan Bysiewicz is in a race to get voters of all kinds out to the primaries. She's here to talk about new efforts to get the public involved. Also, we're going to meet Mark Zdanowicz, who's challenging Congressman John Larson in the 1st District. And things are staying exciting in the many, many races headed for a primary. The chairman of Connecticut's GOP is here with a preview. Hi, welcome to The Real Story. I'm Lori Perez. This is one of the most active political years in memory, with primary challenges in a notable number of races on the federal, state, and local levels. Keeping track of it all and encouraging voters to do the same is our Secretary of State, Susan Bysiewicz. Susan, thanks for being here today to talk about the primaries.
Thank you so much for having me.
Talk about, does it seem as there are an extraordinary number of primaries, or are we just hearing more about them?
We have 44 primaries, 21 Republican primaries, 23 Democratic primaries. We have more open races for statewide and federal office than we've had in decades. So this is one for the record books.
And what does that say to you, first of all, as the Secretary of State, and also as someone who's run for office?
You know, it's going to be a very exciting year for primary voters because there are so many choices for United States Senate, for governor, for probate judge, General Assembly. I don't think we've had so many contested races in a long time. We've seen over past races, election cycles, where we've had many uncontested seats open. That's not happening this year. It means a lot of great choices for voters, but a lot to keep track of and a lot of homework for voters to do.
Do you think people are just more politically active now? That they're thinking, hey, I can get involved in public service as well?
I think that's part of it. I think there are a lot of new people running for the General Assembly. There are a lot of open seats for probate judge, and I think that's going to encourage a lot of grassroots turnout as well. And I think it's an exciting time because people are talking about the issues earlier than they otherwise would have because of the primary season that is less than 20 days away.
Okay, and so you do have several efforts out that are to get people who might be unregistered or unaffiliated involved.
That's right. First, our effort to affiliate and participate is important because we have 840,000 unaffiliated voters in our state who, by party rule, not by state law, can't participate in the primaries unless they register with a party. So we're trying to get the message out to those unaffiliated voters. You have until noon on August 9th to enroll in a party, if only for Election Day, to vote in those important races.
I was going to say, because some people hesitate to register with a party because they think it's a permanent thing, or...
Exactly. And some people truly make the decision based on the candidate and not the person's party affiliation. However, because you can only participate if you affiliate, it's really important, if you have any doubt in your mind, to call your registrar of voters and say, hey, am I registered with a party? And if not, think about choosing one so that you can take part in these exciting races.
And also, I saw that you had, you were telling me that this week you were in Manchester trying to get 17-year-olds.
That's right. And the other very important effort we have is this. We're trying to get 17-year-olds aware of the fact that this is the first primary season that they'll be able to participate as voters, provided they'll be 18 by November 2nd. This came as a result of a constitutional amendment passed in 2008, and so we think it will affect 10,000 17-year-olds.
Wow.
But they have to register with a party in order to participate.
How many people typically participate in these primaries?
You know, we had a very high turnout in the Lamont-Lieberman primary in 2006 with 43%. Our presidential primary turnout was 53% with Clinton and Obama. So I'm hoping we're going to exceed 50% with so many races on the ballot on both sides of the aisle.
And we were speaking of, particularly you said that the probate judge races might spur even more turnout.
Yes, there's a lot of door knocking going on in those probate judge races. And whenever you have get out the vote efforts at the grassroots level, that helps generate good primary turnout.
Okay, and also we want to talk about, you have improvements for our military voters?
We do. Now, because we have learned that with so many of our young people overseas, more than 1,000 people from Connecticut serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, it was taking a long time to get absentee ballot applications and the ballots themselves to our military personnel. Now election officials can fax or email the applications and the ballots to our soldiers overseas. They do have to be hand-filled out and hand-signed and sent back, but we think that'll cut more than a month off the process.
Oh, interesting. What can people be expecting? Because, you know, there's a lot of talk in the news about primary night, what to expect. How quickly will we get the results, and is it, for people who perhaps have never voted in a primary, is it just the same as a regular election?
You know, we will have results very early on because of the optical scan voting machines. We'll know shortly after 8 o'clock in most towns what the results will be. People can watch the Secretary of the State's website for live returns on election night. As soon as we get them, we will be putting them out onto our website.
Okay, interesting. Any particular races that you're keeping an eye on?
There are so many to keep track of. I don't think we've ever had so many gubernatorial candidates on both sides of the aisle. So many of the constitutional offices are open, and there's primaries for them on both sides of the aisle. It's really an exciting time to be the Secretary of the State and to be the advocate for voters to educate themselves and to make sure that they can participate in the election.
Right. So for people who are watching this and they say, yeah, you know what, I should get up to date on who's running, what should they do?
They can check out our website because we have lists of all the primary races and the candidates. Also, you can go to the League of Women Voters website, and I always tell voters, if you go to the polls on primary day, chances are you'll meet half of the candidates standing right there.
That's true. That's very true. All right, that's all good information, and a reminder that you can go to the website to get information about the candidates, and people still have time to participate.
They do. You have up until noon on August 9th to register and enroll with a party, and we encourage you to do that.
All right. Well, thank you, Susan, for stopping by and helping us out with the primary preview.
Thanks for having me.
Susan Bysiewicz. Up next, Congressman John Larson is being challenged by two very aggressive candidates this term. Last week, we introduced you to Ann Brickley. This week, we talked to Mark Zdanowicz.